Mein nächster Gast ist Disc-Jockey, mein nächster Gast ist Internetphänomen, mein nächster Gast sieht nicht nur großartig aus, sondern hat auch was zu sagen. Ladies and gentlemen, make some warm applause for my dear friend, Craig White, aka 1-800-DISCO. Hey Craig, nice to have you.
Yes, I'm a little bit fragile. We had a birthday party last night for at my Mr. Bear party. We were one. So yeah, that was really good. It was a late one, 7 o'clock this morning. But
oh wow,
feeling good to be here though, part of this lovely event.
Craig, tell us something about you. I mean, I know you're coming from the UK.
I was living in London for 5 years. I was DJing in London, have a residency there, but London's a very hectic, intense city, and I wanted to get out to focus on music, and I fell in love with Berlin when I came over here. The way people are, the kind of freedom of expression. It seems like there's somewhat, I don't know, there's almost a lack of ego here compared to in London, and I wanted to get away on my own to focus on music, where I didn't know anybody, and Berlin was the perfect place. So yeah, that's why I came basically, because I love the city, I love the vibe, the chilled atmosphere here, and yeah, I wanted something. Also, I don't even want to use this word, but there was a political event happening in the UK which kind of pushed me out the door, because I wanted to. I'm somebody who strives for freedom. I think everybody should be allowed freedom in their own way, and this might have been getting taken away. So that was a big push for me to make the move sooner rather than later.
Okay. Was it ever planned to leave, except because of this?
Yes. I always, I don't know, you feel like, I don't know why your internal clock, soul, heart, I'm always somebody who follows my heart, and I always feel like I want to either live in Berlin or the island of Ibiza. That's quite a spiritual island. I went through quite a spiritual awakening a few years ago, which was extremely intense. Wasn't expecting it. It just happened out of the blue. And so it set me on this kind of different course to what I was on, which I wasn't expecting, you know. And just the good feeling with the music also, I think, going to new cities, you add kind of like feathers to your cap, you get new experiences. Musically, I always thought Berlin would it's totally different to London in terms of music, and it would like add to the journey I was on, shall we say. I mean, I would love to live in New York for a period of time because of the history it has behind it. I don't know if that will ever happen, but that's the kind of the reason for I'm going on this journey, you know. Just kind of like setting the sail away and seeing where it takes me.
It's amazing. I like it. It's like a very positive approach to life.
Yeah.
And very open-minded to like, yeah,
Yeah.
let's see what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
And sometimes it just happens, right?
Yes. Yeah, I wanted to get involved with the Berlin Disco Lovers group with a friend. To try and, I don't know, the guy Alex left to Belgium, so no one was really managing the group. So I offered to step in with a friend, but straight away I found what could we really do in that group? It's people just posting stuff all the time. And actually, the guy who I was doing it with, Marvin, he quit DJing like as soon as we decided to do this. So he left, and I was like, it's probably too much to do on my own. So, but that group is good because everybody posts in it. It's great for what it is, but yeah, I don't really manage that now. I was going to, but I soon learned with Facebook, with these groups, with loads of people from all over, because it's not one specific thing. It's quite a hard thing to manage, and I think it serves its own purpose by people just posting in there and talking and things like that, you know. But it's been interesting to see from when I first moved here, the disco scene evolving even just in a short space of time, you know, in a very positive way. I have a vinyl collection. I do play some vinyl, but I play digital mainly. If sometimes I will take vinyl. If it's Berlin, if it's the UK, I wouldn't take them back. But I play some records in Berlin. I love the way that actually there's more of a vinyl culture here. I grew up with records. A lot of my friends all have records, but ultimately, when you DJ in most places in London, in the UK, everybody's mostly playing digital, you know. Whereas in Berlin, it's so many people are playing vinyls, you know. Which I think is incredible.
Cool.
Okay.
Let's check it out.
I bought this Paradise Garage stroke Salsoul album in San Francisco from Amoeba Records. In Amoeba Records, you can't actually listen to the records that you're gonna buy. So, I wouldn't class myself as having an incredibly deep knowledge just to go and buy things without kind of knowing what they are. But there was 4 Paradise Garage albums, disco albums, which I immediately picked up and bought for $30 each. This track is called Runaway. And it's the Salsoul Orchestra featuring Letta Holloway. It was also covered by the Masters at Work, who were like the huge influence on me when I first started listening to music, 16, 17 DJing. And they covered it with India singing in on it, which I also play, so.
Cool, let's hear it. Whoa.
I'm gonna mess around, 'cause that's the way I want to be. I'm gonna try to get it down before I let love get to me. Don't want your love, don't need it. That's the way I see it. Oh, run away, you better not hesitate. Better hurry, don't wait now. Run away before you find it's too late. 'Cause you know how love slows you down. And if I should change my mind, if I should want to turn around, no, it won't be hard to find another loving clown. It's best to think what of it, love changes when you love it. Oh, run away, you better not hesitate. Better hurry, don't wait now. Run away before you find it's too late. No, I'll never settle down, 'cause I'm just not the settling kind. I got dance all over town and do just what is on my mind. Love's good for those who want it. I should know I've done it. Oh, run away, you better not hesitate. Better hurry, don't wait now.
So, beautiful track. I mean, what a dance floor filler, right? What a dance floor filler. And it's been run away by the Soul Orchestra featuring Loletta Holloway. Very beautiful, Craig. My dear Craig, are you ready
Yes,
to let someone else, to let a second person on the stage?
of course.
Of course.
It's my new best friend, I think.
He's the only one speaking English in here. And what an English it is. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Mr. J Star. J Star, aka John.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing tonight?
Very good. I love the suits. Can we all give a round of applause for their amazing suit?
Good, don't move too much. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good tonight. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Oh, you're so lovely. Where are you coming from?
I come from London. I come from West London. I've just come off a tour of Asia and Australia and New Zealand with an artist who I was her DJ, and I also actually booked a large number of the shows. I don't normally book shows, but she had one offer, and we decided to extend the tour into 3 weeks. So I used all my contacts, and we booked a whole tour around it, and it was great. For me, music gives a lot of great opportunity. There's a viel Gelegenheit. That you can work as a DJ or an editor, and then you can meet people on the road, and maybe if you have other skills, they can be transferred. So I really liked helping my friends organize their musical events. You know, I got involved in promoting and DJing at quite a young age, and probably in the early 2000s, and probably even in the 90s, actually, I was quite involved in putting on events and DJing. So all these skills came to the fore, came up front in the 2000s when I became a tour manager, but I still ran my record label. So that's been going for 16 years, putting out records. But the tours were also great opportunities when I was tour managing to sell my records on the side, or maybe advertise myself as free advertising. So I'd go on tour with Major Lazer or Lyricsborn or some other hip-hop artists and be able to sell my reggae hip-hop remixes. And then other people would say, well, would you like to re-edit this? Or someone might say, would you like to tour manage my band? So this kind of all fed into the machine.
So how much of the year are you on the road? Can you...
Well, one of the reasons I came to Berlin is that I was on the road DJing and tour managing for over 6 months of the year. So I thought, well, I'm spending a lot of money in London, and Craig, as you know, it's an expensive town, right? And I thought I don't want to be wasting my rent. I thought, well, where should I go? And one of my favorite cities to go to, where I'd been invited in the early 2000s, I came to Berlin, DJed in a place called Cookies and Cream, which was in an old bank, like an occupied bank, and it had a vault and all these different DJ rooms, and I DJed in the toilet. Yeah, you know, I was like the first time I DJed in the toilet, and there was a vodka shop bar and champagne bar, and people getting drunk and going to the toilets and partying. It was such a fantastic experience. It stayed with me. I was like, well, I've got to go to Berlin because this is going to be what it's like. But 10 years later, it was quite different to the experience I'd had in the early 2000s. But it was still a fantastic town. So after spending so long on the road each year, I decided to come to Berlin. And it was still the same. I was over 6 months of the year, but I have a bit less now time on the road, and I'm a bit more in Berlin. Last year I was in tour in China because I've been developing and recording some songs with Chinese artists in Cantonese and in Mandarin. And the songs, one of the songs was, well, I'd say political to an extent, and it's become a little bit of an anthem in the Hong Kong reggae scene, which, as you can imagine, is huge. You know. Yeah. And it was very interesting to see all these different towns. I didn't really experience a lot of what we read in the news about China, but I experienced China from the level of an underground music scene that's keeping itself alive through the passion of the people there, and it was fantastic. So and I'm keeping working with artists there so they can be represented outside of China. And also, because it's reggae, I wanted to highlight the link that China had with sending workers over to Jamaica in the end of the 19th century and then in the 20th century. And the relatives of these workers and the families who became, inherently Jamaican Chinese descent established a lot of the businesses which would become the reggae record labels, such as VP and Randy's, both musicians, producers, and artists, which affected reggae music. And people in China don't necessarily know this history because of the way that history is being presented in China. So it was very nice to bring this story on full circle back to China. I'd like to link Craig's Long Journey record with my auction record. Is that all right?
That's okay. That's
because
okay. We're cool. We're liberals.
Runaway was a track that I heard like every night on the Grandmaster Flash tour that I tour managed. Grandmaster Flash, who's quite a well-known hip-hop DJ.
Okay, who's that?
And every night he would juggle Runaway, every night. And he made it sound so good that I started playing it again, because I played it in the 90s at disco nights and not played it for a long time, and he made it sound amazing. And that drum break at the beginning. So I was on tour with Grandmaster Flash, and we went to Liverpool, and I knew a record dealer there called Christian, and he was a super hyper guy. And Liverpudlians, I don't know if there's an equivalent here in Germany, but this kind of character, very friendly. They draw you in. You're their best mate. All right, mate, come in. Yeah. Oh, you got to try this record. He had his house full of records, and bits and bobs. And he could sell me anything. This guy. I mean, he's very good. Oh, you got to hear this record, mate. Ah, yeah, this one. And he picked up this record, and it was a 7-inch. He said, oh, you never heard this one, mate. You never heard this one. And this is my record for sale, actually. It's called Rotation, by Rotation. This is the A-side is called Ratata, which is
amazing.
It's actually a German record, and it's from Hamburg. So you've already had a record from Hamburg tonight. And so I was on tour with Grandmaster Flash after hearing Runaway every night, and I went and bought this record for about £10. £10. I was like, oh, I've never heard this before. Now, I'm not sure if this is the £10 version, because 5 years later, I was in Amsterdam going through a €1 box of records and found it for €1. So I bought the €1 one. So this may be the £10 one, but it may be the €1 one. Who knows? And I've been playing the record, and I didn't know much about it. And then I went on Discogs when you asked me to do this, and found out that it's actually mostly worth about €1 or €2. And I was thinking it was 10 like €10 record. But do you want to hear this before we do the long record? But this is just linking.
You introduced it so beautifully that we should do it. I can, while you're putting the record on the plate, I can add that I have the record too, and I paid I think €15. So it's all fine. It's the same.
I mean, you can pay €15 for a good quality version.
Exactly.
This is
for a second, the Discogs thing is, this is a record that's been pressed in different versions on different labels, and it can mean that some of them has been like pressed a million times. And that's the €1 version.
Both times I bought them was before Discogs. So had I known, but that's what record digging's about. You don't know. So this is Rotation. So like it's a super funky flute record. The
It is.
A-side, you do not want to hear the A-side, believe me.
I love to play it.
But apparently Miko has played it. And that also sounds good if you put a Public Enemy a cappella over Mark Hype, okay? So just telling you now. So that's a funky flute, funk record, B-side. Forget the A-side. Rotation. Over to you, Miko.
Rotation. Ladies and gentlemen, so we switched the order a little bit, but this record is for sale actually, and the starting price is actually €1. So we will go like, look, Mark Hype is in.
I'd say this is a VG condition.
1, €2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can all count 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Me can also tell me a number that's higher, maybe, you know. If we had 11 at Mark. 15. Stefan. We're getting his money back.
It's not going to me, it's going to a good cause.
It's going to a good cause, right. It's going for Seward. So 16 it is for Mark. Anyone else? Public Enemy, Mark, and this record. For €16? Okay. Zum ersten 20.
Hey!
Okay. 20. Anyone else? Nee, von John. Sehr geil. So, this record is going to be sold for $20 to Stefan over there for the first time and the second time and the third time. Thank you so much. And thank you for the glatte Betrag. We need to listen to, so thank you very much. Thank you, Jahren, for donating. Rotation. And the A-side is also cool. It's called maybe not for a dancer, but for a merry-go-round or something.
Miko asked me to bring the record that I've been most traveled, and that was kind of hard to work out because, you know, there's lots of records I've taken to gigs I've had for a long time, but most traveled, I think you mean in like terms of miles or kilometers. Is that what you mean?
Maybe.
Okay, so this is a maybe okay. So I thought that my international DJing really took off when I started making these remixes, and No Diggity was probably, I thought that was my most traveled record, but I thought actually there's a record which traveled with No Diggity that I had before it, and had also been to lots of concerts. So this record had been around Europe a lot in the early 2000s, then it went out to Singapore and back. Then it went to New Zealand, then to LA, and then back to UK, and then it went out to Mexico, then back, then it went out to New Zealand again, and back to UK. So I thought, well, this is the most, and it's an obvious, it's quite an obvious record. It's nothing niche or kind of special, but it's a tool because it's got the vocal versions on one side, and it's got the instrumental versions. It's great for MCs. I travel with MCs. And it's also a great party record. And I can put a cappellas over the top of it. And yeah, here we go. You know this one, a party record.
Trying to get crazy with this, see? Don't you know I'm loco?
Traveled record.
Sounds like.
When I go out drinking.
Oh, making my mind slow. That's why I don't fuck with the big 4-0, bro. I got to maintain, cause a nigga like me is going insane. Insane in the membrane. Insane in the membrane. Insane in the brain. Insane in the membrane. Insane in the membrane. Do my shit undercover, now it's time for the blubber.
So, that's my most traveled record, because it's really a tool. When you're a DJ, you need like records that are going to work. You might not even play it. It's a go-to record. It's great for MCs, the instrumental, put acapellas on. Mark Hype, is there a 7-inch of this? There is a 7-inch. Okay, I've got to get that. Okay. 2.
Really expensive. Philippines only, the original, and then there's a repress.
How much are we looking at for the original? How many euros?
It's just the Philippine ones, 300 plus.
300 euros for the original.
Philippine pricing
7-inch,
for 300.
Yeah, see you later on that one. But that's my most traveled record. Okay,
Make some
so
more
over to you.
noise. Well, not. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the last point. Thank you so much, John, for bringing this really traveled record. We could hear all that, and we all know it, and we all love it. Craig, you got a record for us for sale?
Yes, this has a story. I will try and keep it as short as possible. When I moved to Berlin, I came on my own, but a friend of mine knew I was coming, and he'd been traveling for years, and I knew we needed to reconnect. And then he came over to Berlin to see me with his dog. I actually bought this dog called Bear a passport, and then he told me he was coming over. He had a one-way ticket. I was like, oh my God, he's going to try and live with me, and I just want to start this new life in Berlin. So I put him in a different set of accommodation, but and then for this 1 week, we just had an incredible, very close connection, and I fell in love with this dog called Bear. But this dog, led us around the city. We met so many amazing people. And then I actually left for 2 weeks, and he would have to go back to the UK because he couldn't afford to stay in Berlin. And while I was away, he took this photo of the dog with these peace glasses on, and I was like, wow, that's a really cool photo, which you'll hear about in a second. But in these 2 weeks, while he was staying at mine, he went to the dog park and he met this girl, and they fell for each other instantly. And they moved in together after 1 week, and he stayed in Berlin. She had a wolf, and then we had a kind of summer of love with this. We would go to Panorama Bar, but we would only go for 4 hours so we could come back and see Bear. She had a son who was calling Bear Hair Bear, and we were like, what does Hair Bear mean? Mr. Bear. And we're like, oh, Mr. Bear. And then we kind of started looking at this photo with the peace glasses on again. We were just sitting around smoking some weed. And I was like, that's such a cool photo. And I started putting these silly filters on, and I was like, wow, that's a really good logo, And I was like, and I'm wanting to start my own party. I was like, let's do a Mr. Bear party. And so this is the photo. It's it's the dog with the peace glasses on, and it was just a quirky kind of meaningless fun. And when you try and think of names for parties, DJ names, this is just a kind of, we were so entrapped in the moment, and I was like, let's do it, So Morgan doesn't DJ, but he listens to old music a lot, and George Clinton is one of his favorites, and he was like, we have to, this is the theme, Atomic Dog, George Clinton has to be the theme song. It's all dog related, and I'd never heard it before. And then as soon as I heard it, I was like, wow, I mean, that's such a good song. It's Snoop Dogg used it for his track, so we can listen to it now. But all of this story culminated in the party, which I had a 1-year anniversary. It's been a really successful year. All of these kind of serendipitous moments came together to create something what we've got now, which feels quite special. And so this has a story to it, probably the only record I've got with a story. And it's obviously George Clinton's a legend. I think I looked today, there's only one on Discogs. I'll have to buy it back again in the future if somebody buys it. But here we go.
This is a story of famous dog. But the dog that chases its tail will be busy. These are clapping dogs, rhythmic dogs, harmonic dogs, house dogs, street dogs, dogs of the world unite, dancing dogs. Yeah, cotton dog, funky dogs, nasty dogs.
Okay, we have a first bidder. Bidder, that's what you say, a bidder. $10. Who wants to pay more? Nobody, Uwe? 15. 15 over there. 16.
I got 18.
18. So 18 it is. What? Who's that? Is it Justus? Good. So is it 19 to someone in the back? Anyone wants to pay more? Come on. Ah, is this ernst gemeint? Okay, good. You are an atomic dog too, yeah. So that's Robin. Okay, 19, 19, 20, 20. Anyone more? 21. 24. Vom Alter her, aber nicht vom Budget. He said he won't pay more than his age, so it's 24, and he says he's still got budget, but not money-wise, but age-wise. So it's 24 to Robin? 24 to you, okay. 24 zum ersten, zum zweiten und zum dritten. Verkauft zum guten Zweck. George Clinton mit Atomic Dog. Sehr geil. Thank you so much, Greg. So amazing having you. Thank you, having you. Make some warm applause for those two. Macht einen warmen Applaus für die beiden. Vielen lieben Dank.